What you just witnessed on Monday Night Raw wasn't just another wrestling segment, it was character assassination in its purest form. Jey USO, the man who preaches about family values and loyalty, just committed one of the most despicable acts we've seen in recent WWE history by brutally attacking an already injured Paul Heyman with a vicious slap that echoed through the arena like a gunshot. This isn't about wrestling anymore, this is about crossing lines that should never be crossed, and if you think what Jey did was justified, you need to seriously reconsider what kind of person you're cheering for, because what happened on Raw was nothing short of disgusting cowardice. Let me paint you the complete picture of this shocking betrayal that has the entire WWE universe divided right down the middle. Paul Heyman, the legendary advocate who has given his blood, sweat, and tears to this business for over 3 decades, was already nursing injuries from previous attacks. The man was vulnerable, he was hurting, and he was in no position to defend himself when Jey USO decided to strike like a predator hunting wounded prey. The audacity of this attack goes beyond anything we could have imagined from someone who claims to represent honor and family values. Jey USO has spent months building his reputation as the moral compass of WWE, the guy who stands up for what's right, the man who fights for his family's legacy. But what we saw on Raw completely shattered that facade and revealed the true nature of a man who will attack anyone when they're at their weakest. Think about this for a moment. Paul Heyman wasn't even in wrestling gear. He was there in his business suit, microphone in hand, doing what he does best as an advocate and a businessman. He wasn't prepared for a physical confrontation, he wasn't expecting to be attacked, and most importantly, he was already dealing with previous injuries that everyone in that building knew about. The slap itself was delivered with such force and malicious intent that you could hear it reverberating through the speakers of every television screen across America. But it wasn't just the physical impact that made this moment so shocking, it was the complete lack of respect, the total abandonment of everything Jey USO claimed to stand for, and the cold calculation behind choosing to strike when his target was most vulnerable. Paul Heyman's reaction told the entire story. The shock in his eyes, the way he staggered backward, the complete disbelief that someone would stoop to such a low level, these weren't the reactions of a man playing a character, these were the genuine responses of someone who had been blindsided by pure cruelty. What makes this even more infuriating is the timing of this attack. Paul Heyman has been dealing with the fallout from Roman Reigns' absence, trying to hold together the pieces of what was once the most dominant faction in WWE. He's been working overtime to maintain his position, to prove his worth, and to show that he's more than just a mouthpiece. He's a strategic genius who has shaped the careers of some of the biggest names in wrestling history. But instead of recognizing Heyman's contributions, instead of showing the respect that a legend of his caliber deserves, Jey USO chose violence. He chose to make a statement not through his wrestling ability, not through his character work, but through a cowardly attack on a man who couldn't fight back even if he wanted to. The WWE Universe's reaction has been explosive, and rightfully so. Social media erupted within minutes of this attack, with fans expressing their outrage, their disappointment, and their complete shock at what they had just witnessed. The hashtags started trending immediately, the comment sections filled up with passionate responses, and the wrestling world found itself once again divided between those who support Jey's actions and those who condemn them as inexcusable. Those defending Jey USO are pointing to his family's history with Paul Heyman, the years of manipulation and strategic maneuvering that Heyman employed to maintain control over Roman Reigns and the Bloodline. They argue that Heyman had it coming, that he deserved every bit of that slap for the way he's played puppet master with the USO family for years. But here's where that argument completely falls apart. Revenge is one thing, but attacking someone who's already injured, someone who's vulnerable and defenseless, isn't revenge, it's cowardice of the highest order. If Jey USO had a problem with Paul Heyman, there were countless ways to address it that didn't involve physically assaulting an injured man who was simply doing his job. The implications of this attack extend far beyond just one moment of violence. This single slap has potentially rewritten the entire landscape of WWE storytelling, shifted the balance of power in ways we haven't fully comprehended yet, and established Jey USO as someone willing to cross any line to make his point. Think about what this means for Jey's character moving forward. How can WWE continue to present him as a sympathetic figure, as someone fighting for family values, when he's just demonstrated that he'll attack the injured and defenseless? How can fans continue to cheer for someone who chooses violence over confrontation, who picks on those who can't fight back? Paul Heyman's injury status makes this attack even more controversial. Reports from backstage sources suggest that Heyman was dealing with significant physical issues that were well known throughout the WWE roster. Everyone knew he was hurt, everyone knew he was vulnerable, and that makes Jey's decision to strike him not just shocking, but calculated and cruel. The medical staff rushed to check on Heyman immediately after the attack, which tells you everything you need to know about how serious this situation was. This wasn't a typical wrestling segment where everyone gets up and walks away. This was a genuine concern for someone's physical well-being after being attacked while already compromised. What's particularly disturbing is how Jey USO seemed to take pleasure in delivering that slap. The look in his eyes, the way he positioned himself, the force behind the strike, none of this suggested someone acting in a moment of passion or anger. This was premeditated, calculated, and executed with surgical precision designed to cause maximum damage to someone who couldn't defend themselves. The wrestling world has seen its share of controversial moments, but there's something particularly unsettling about watching someone attack an already injured person. It goes against every code of honor that exists not just in professional wrestling, but in any form of competition or conflict. You don't kick someone when they're down, and you certainly don't slap them when they're already hurt. Paul Heyman's legacy in WWE spans decades of incredible work as a manager, an advocate, and a creative genius who has been instrumental in developing some of the biggest storylines and characters in wrestling history. To see him treated with such disrespect, to see him attacked in such a cowardly manner, is an insult not just to him personally, but to everything he's contributed to this business. The crowd's reaction in the arena was telling, the collective gasp when that slap connected, the stunned silence that followed, and then the mixed reactions as people processed what they had just witnessed. Some cheered Jey's actions, caught up in the moment and the drama, while others booed loudly, expressing their disapproval of such tactics. This moment will undoubtedly be replayed countless times, analyzed from every angle, and debated for weeks to come. But no amount of analysis can change the fundamental fact that what we witnessed was wrong on multiple levels. It was wrong tactically, wrong morally, and wrong from a storytelling perspective because it undermines everything that makes professional wrestling compelling. The aftermath of this attack raises serious questions about where WWE goes from here. How do they address this level of violence against an injured person? How do they maintain the balance between entertainment and genuine concern for performer safety? And most importantly, how do they handle the fallout from one of their top stars crossing a line that many fans believe should never be crossed? Jey USO's actions have consequences that extend beyond just this one moment. Every future interaction he has with other performers, every storyline he's involved in, and every character moment he attempts will be viewed through the lens of what he did to Paul Heyman. That slap didn't just impact Heyman, it fundamentally changed how we see Jey USO as a performer and as a person. The wrestling business has always blurred the lines between reality and entertainment, but moments like this remind us that there are real people behind these characters, real injuries behind the storylines, and real consequences for actions taken in the heat of the moment. Paul Heyman isn't just a character, he's a human being who was hurt and vulnerable, and he deserved better than what he received. What happened on Monday Night Raw wasn't just shocking television, it was a moment that will define how we remember this era of WWE programming. Years from now, when people look back at this period, they'll remember the night that Jey USO chose violence over honor, chose cruelty over compassion, and chose to attack someone who couldn't fight back. The WWE Universe deserves better than this kind of behavior from their top stars. We deserve performers who understand that being a hero means protecting the vulnerable, not attacking them. We deserve storylines that elevate the business rather than dragging it down into genuine cruelty and cowardice. This isn't about being soft or unrealistic about the nature of professional wrestling, it's about maintaining basic standards of human decency even within the context of sports entertainment. There are lines that shouldn't be crossed, and Jey USO didn't just cross one of those lines, he obliterated it with a single, calculated slap that will echo through WWE history as one of the most cowardly acts we've ever witnessed. The question now is whether WWE will address this appropriately, whether they'll hold Jey USO accountable for his actions, and whether they'll use this moment to teach important lessons about respect, honor, and protecting those who can't protect themselves. Because if they don't, they're sending a message that attacking the injured and defenseless is acceptable behavior, and that's a message no company should ever want to send. What do you think about Jey USO's shocking attack on Paul Heyman? Was it justified given their history, or was it an inexcusable act of cowardice against an injured man? Let me know in the comments below, and make sure to share this video because this conversation needs to happen. The WWE Universe needs to decide what kind of behavior we're willing to accept from our top stars, and what kind of standards we expect them to maintain both in and out of the ring.